The council chamber of the Galactic Union smelled like burned ozone and political backstabbing. Typical Tuesday. I stood there, all 7 feet of human awkwardness, watching as 36 alien dignitaries argued about whether to vaporize me or just throw me out an airlock. Real classy bunch, these guys. The human must be eliminated, screeched Counselor Vrax, his tentacles writhing in what I'd learned was their version of aggressive hand-waving. He has violated Protocol 7, Alpha 9. Protocol 7, Alpha 9. Right. The one about not accidentally starting a trade war by telling the Crebian ambassador that his hat looked stupid. In my defense, it really did look stupid. Like a deflated balloon animal had died on his head. Death seems excessive, murmured Counselor Thien, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's purple lighting into 1,000 tiny rainbows. Yeah, I know I said no crystalline, but trust me, Thien was literally made of the stuff. Not my fault her species evolved from sentient gemstones. Excessive? Vrax's voice hit a pitch that made my fillings hurt. This creature has been nothing but trouble since his ship crashed on Station Omega-7. He broke the sacred vase of Mrendor. He insulted High Priestess Zala. He taught the younglings of Sector 4 something called the dab. Okay, that last one I was actually proud of. Those little lizard kids had terrible posture. The dab really helped. Marcus Webb. That's me. Former cargo pilot, current intergalactic incident. When my ship went down 3 months ago, I figured the worst thing that could happen was dying in the cold vacuum of space. Turns out, surviving was way more complicated. The council chamber erupted again. 17 different languages overlapping, each one demanding my head, or equivalent appendage. The Vrellans didn't even have heads, just a mass of sensory nodes, but you get the idea. Silence! The voice cut through the chaos like a plasma blade through butter. Everyone shut up. I mean, everyone. Even Vrax's tentacles stopped mid-wave, freezing in what looked like a very awkward yoga pose. She entered from the eastern archway, Queen Lysara, of the Zithian Empire. Holy hell! I'd heard about the Scythians. Everyone had. Warrior race. Conquered half the eastern spiral arm before deciding that diplomacy was more fun than genocide. Their queen was supposed to be fierce, brilliant, and absolutely terrifying. Nobody mentioned she'd be beautiful. She moved like water flowing uphill, defying physics just by walking. Her skin had this faint violet tint that shifted to blue in the light. Hair like spun silver, pulled back in a style that was somehow both practical and elegant. Eyes that glowed with an inner fire, literally, because Scythian biology was weird like that. And she was looking right at me. This is the human? Her voice carried authority the way oceans carry ships, easily, and with the constant threat of drowning. Yes, Your Majesty, Vrax stammered. His tentacles had gone limp. We were just discussing his termination. Were you now? Lysara's smile could have flash-frozen a Sunday. How fascinating! Tell me, Marcus Webb of Earth, what is your crime that warrants death? Everyone turned to stare at me. Great. Public speaking. My favorite. Long, painful silence. Then Lysara laughed. It wasn't a polite chuckle. It was a full, genuine laugh that echoed off the chamber walls and made half the council flinch. Vrax looked like he was about to have a stroke, if his species could have strokes. A dead thing, she repeated, still laughing. Oh, that's delightful. Do you know Krevik spent 3 hours preparing that ridiculous hat? He consulted 5 different fashion advisors. Your Majesty, Vrax protested weakly. This is hardly appropriate. What's inappropriate, Counselor, is wasting this Assembly's time on such triviality. Lysara's amusement vanished like someone had flipped a switch. The human spoke truth. Krevik's hat did look absurd. Since when do we execute people for honesty? It's not just the hat. Another counselor jumped in. Probably shouldn't have. He's been a menace. Yesterday he told Priestess Morna that her religious chanting sounded like a cat being strangled. I winced. Yeah, that one was harder to defend. To be fair, I offered. I asked her very politely if maybe she could chant quieter because I was trying to sleep, and she said her faith was more important than my comfort, so I might have gotten a little sarcastic. A little? Vrax was turning an interesting shade of purple. You suggested she perform her rituals in a soundproof room, preferably on another station. Lysara was doing that thing where she was clearly trying not to smile. The human makes a valid point about noise ordinances. Your Majesty, please! Vrax was practically begging now. We cannot let this creature continue to disrupt our society. He has no respect for our traditions, our customs, our way of life. Or, Lysara said, her voice dropping to something dangerous, perhaps your traditions need a little disruption. Oh, snap! The council chamber went dead quiet. You could have heard a pin drop, if pins existed in space, which they probably did, but that's not the point. The human stays, Lysara declared. Execution is denied. Vrax made a noise like a stepped-on squeaky toy. But, Your Majesty, the Council has voted. The protocols demand. I am invoking right of claim. More silence. This time, it felt heavier. Dangerous. Like the air before a lightning strike. You can't, Thene whispered. That's archaic. Nobody's used right of claim in centuries. I have claimed Marcus Webb. He is under my protection, subject to my authority, and answers to no one else. Any who challenge this will answer to the Zithian Empire. Well, this was new. Vrax looked like he wanted to argue. To his credit, he was smart enough not to. You don't argue with someone who commands 300 warships and has a reputation for turning political opponents into very small, very scattered molecules. The Council will accept Your Majesty's claim, he said finally, defeated. But we demand compensation for the damages and insults. Bill, my office, Lysara said dismissively. She turned those glowing eyes on me. Come, human, we're leaving. I didn't need to be told twice. I followed her out of the chamber, very aware of dozens of alien eyes burning holes in my back, some angry, some confused, a few looking distinctly worried. We walked in silence through the station's corridors. Lysara moved with purpose, and I had to hustle to keep up. She was tall, even by Zithian standards, and her stride ate up distance. So, I ventured, thanks for the whole not letting them kill me thing. That was solid. She didn't slow down. Don't thank me yet. That sounds ominous. Good. You should be worried. We turned a corner into a private docking bay. A ship waited there, sleek and dangerous-looking, all curves and weapon pods. Very Scythian. Look, I said, I appreciate the rescue, but what exactly does this right of claim thing mean? Because I'm getting some weird vibes here. Lysara stopped, turned, looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. It means, Marcus Webb, that you are now mine. My responsibility, my property, by ancient law. You will come with me to the Zithian homeworld. You will live in my household. You will obey my commands. That sounds a lot like slavery. It's not slavery. It's complicated. She started walking again. But yes, essentially, I own you now. Consider it the price of not being executed. Great. Fantastic. Love that for me. I followed her up the ship's ramp. And what happens if I refuse? She paused at the grate. Airlock. Then I rescind my claim. You go back to the council, and Vrax gets to choose your method of execution. He's been lobbying for something called molecular disassembly. It takes 6 hours and is apparently quite painful. I thought about that for exactly 2 seconds. Your ship is very nice. Love the aesthetic. When do we leave? That almost smile again. Immediately. The ship's interior was all smooth surfaces and indirect lighting. Elegant, functional, very different from the cramped duct tape and prayers aesthetic of my old cargo hauler. A crew member appeared, a younger Scythian female with curious eyes. "Your Majesty? Shall I show the human to his quarters?" "No, Kara. I'll do it myself." Lysara glanced at me. "Come." We walked through the ship. It was big, way bigger than it looked from outside. Some kind of spatial folding technology that made my head hurt when I thought about it too hard. "Why?" I asked finally. "Why? What? Why save me? You don't know me. I'm nobody. Just some random human who crashed on your station and annoyed a bunch of bureaucrats. What's in it for you?" Lysara stopped in front of a door that slid open at her approach. A cabin, small but comfortable. Definitely better than a jail cell or the cold embrace of space. "You're right," she said. "I don't know you, but I know them. The Council. Vrax and his endless committees. Thene and her careful neutrality. They're so caught up in their protocols and procedures that they've forgotten what it means to actually live. And I remind you of living? You remind me of chaos, of unpredictability, of someone who says what they think. Consequences be damned." Her eyes met mine. "The galaxy needs more of that. Less bowing and scraping. More truth, even when it's uncomfortable. So I'm what? Your pet anarchist? Think of yourself as an investment. I'm curious to see what happens when I bring a human to the Scythian court. My advisors will hate it. The nobles will be. It's scandalized. It will be tremendously entertaining." I laughed. "Couldn't help it. You saved me from execution to mess with your own government?" "Partly." She turned to leave, then paused. Also because Krevik's hat really did look stupid, and someone needed to say it. The door slid shut, leaving me alone in my new quarters. I sat on the bed. It was comfortable. Weird texture, but comfortable. What had I gotten myself into? 3 months ago, I was hauling auto parts between Earth colonies. Boring work, but safe, predictable. Now I was the property of an alien queen, heading to a planet I'd only read about in smuggler stories and military briefings. The ship shuddered slightly as we undocked. Through the small viewport, I watched Omega-7 station shrink away. Somewhere in there, Vrax was probably having an aneurysm. The thought made me smile. A chime at my door. "Yeah?" Kara stepped in, carrying what looked like clothing. "Her Majesty thought you might want to change. Your current attire is. She said it smells like someone died in it." I looked down at my jumpsuit. 3 months of wear. Yeah, that tracked. "Thanks. Kara, right?" "Yes. Can I ask you something? This right of claim thing. What exactly am I in for?" Kara's expression shifted. "Sympathy? Pity? The Queen will explain everything. But be careful, human. The court is not like the Council. It's more dangerous, more complicated, and you will be a curiosity. Some will want to study you. Others will see you as a threat." "A threat? I'm one guy. You're a human. Your species has a reputation." "We do?" "Oh, yes." She smiled, but it wasn't entirely friendly. "Humans are known across the galaxy. Reckless, stubborn, adaptable, prone to solving problems by hitting them until they stop being problems. The fact that you survived 3 months on Omega-7 without getting killed says something about your resourcefulness. Or my luck. Luck runs out. Resourcefulness doesn't." She headed for the door. "Get some rest. We'll reach Zythios Prime in 6 hours. You'll want to be prepared." She left me alone with the clothes and my thoughts. Neither was particularly comforting. I changed. The Zythian clothing fit surprisingly well, adjusting to my body in ways that Earth fabric definitely didn't. Some kind of smart material, fancy. 6 hours to a new planet, a new life, whether I wanted it or not. I should have been terrified, probably should have been plotting escape, or at least panicking. Instead, I found myself grinning. Yeah, this was insane. Yeah, I might die horribly, but it was going to be interesting. And after 3 months of bureaucratic nonsense and diplomatic incidents, interesting sounded pretty damn good. The ship hummed around me, carrying me toward whatever came next. Toward Sithios Prime, toward Queen Lysara's court, toward a future that was probably going to kill me. But hey, at least I wouldn't be bored. I lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere on this ship, Lysara was probably planning, calculating, figuring out how to use her new human acquisition to maximum effect. Good luck with that, Your Majesty. If there's one thing humans are good at, it's being unpredictable. She wanted chaos? She was about to get more than she bargained for. I closed my eyes and waited for Sithios Prime. This was going to be fun. Sithios Prime didn't look like a warrior planet. I mean, I was expecting something grim. Dark skies, maybe some ominous fortresses, definitely a lot of weapons on display. You know, typical conqueror aesthetic. Instead, I got gardens. Floating gardens, to be precise. Massive platforms of earth and greenery suspended in the air by some technology that made anti-gravity look like a party trick. Waterfalls cascaded between levels, defying physics in ways that made my stomach flip. The capital city sprawled beneath them, all elegant spires and flowing architecture that somehow looked organic and planned at the same time. Beautiful, isn't it? Lysara stood beside me at the observation deck as we descended. It's not what I expected. What did you expect? Skulls on spikes? Blood rivers? She sounded amused. We stopped doing that ages ago. Turns out gardens are better for morale. The ship touched down on a private landing platform. Through the viewport, I could see a welcoming committee assembled. At least 24 Zythians in various ceremonial outfits, all looking very official and very unhappy. Your fan club? I asked. My court. They're going to hate you. Wonderful. Should I do something to make it worse? Maybe insult someone's outfit right off the bat? Lysara actually laughed. Save it for dinner. We have standards. The airlock opened. The air hit me first, warm and carrying scents I couldn't identify. Something floral mixed with ozone. The gravity felt slightly lighter than station standard, making me feel bouncy. A tall Zythian male stepped forward. Silver hair like Lysara's, but his eyes were cold amber instead of warm fire. Your Majesty, welcome home. Lord Chancellor Dravik. Lysara's voice went formal. Allow me to introduce Marcus Webb of Earth. He is under my protection by right of claim. The temperature dropped about 10 degrees. Every Zythian on that platform stiffened. Dravik's eyes locked onto me. A human. Here, in the royal court. That's the idea, I said cheerfully. Nice to meet you too. His expression suggested it was very much not nice to meet me. Your Majesty, surely this is unwise. Humans are notoriously unstable, violent, unpredictable. So I've heard. That's why he'll fit right in. Lysara started walking, and the crowd parted like she was radioactive. Marcus will be staying in the East Wing. See that suitable quarters are prepared. The East Wing? A female Zythian with elaborate braids spoke up. But Your Majesty, that's the royal family section. Surely a claimed individual should be housed with the other servants. He's not a servant, Lady Mira. He's my responsibility. Therefore, he stays close. Lysara didn't even slow down. Anyone have other objections they'd like to voice? Now's your chance. Silence. Smart bunch. I followed Lysara through corridors that made Omega-7 Station look like a discount warehouse. Everything gleamed. Walls that shifted colors as we passed. Art that I was pretty sure was worth more than my entire planet. Guards stationed every 20 feet, all watching me like I might explode. They really don't like me, I observed. They don't trust you. Different thing. Is it though? We reached a set of doors that opened into quarters that were definitely too nice for someone like me. The main room alone was bigger than my entire cargo ship had been. Windows overlooked the city, giving me a view of those impossible floating gardens. "Make yourself comfortable," Lysara said. "Dinner is in 3 hours. I'll send someone to fetch you." "Wait." I turned to face her. "You still haven't told me the actual rules here. What am I supposed to do? What's expected of me?" She considered that. "Don't embarrass me. Don't start any wars. Beyond that, we'll figure it out as we go." "That's wonderfully vague." "Welcome to politics, Marcus. Everything is wonderfully vague." She headed for the door. "Oh, and try not to insult anyone too badly at dinner. I need to ease the court into your presence. Save the really good stuff for later." She left me alone in luxury I didn't deserve and definitely didn't understand. I explored. The bathroom had a tub that could fit 6 people, and controls I didn't recognize. The bedroom had a bed that adjusted to my body weight automatically. The closet was already stocked with clothing that fit me perfectly, which was either incredibly efficient or mildly creepy. I settled on creepy efficiency. A chime at the door. I opened it to find Kara holding a small device. "Communication tablet," she explained. "You'll need it to navigate the palace. Also, Her Majesty's schedule is on there, along with court protocols you should probably memorize." "Probably?" "Definitely. Unless you want to accidentally challenge someone to ritual combat by using the wrong greeting." I took the tablet. "That's a thing that can happen?" "It happened to the last off-worlder who visited." He sneezed during the greeting ceremony. 3 Zithian nobles interpreted it as a declaration of war against their houses. It was a whole situation. "What happened to him?" "He's fine. Living on a farm somewhere. Voluntarily exiled after the incident." Kara smiled. "Don't sneeze at dinner." She left me with that comforting advice. I spent the next 2 hours trying to memorize protocols. There were hundreds. Different bows for different ranks. Specific phrases for specific situations. An entire section on proper eating etiquette that made Earth table manners look like cave paintings. Another chime. Different Scythian. Older. With markings on her face that suggested rank I didn't understand. "I am Vexa, your escort to dinner. Are you prepared?" I looked down at my outfit. Scythian formal wear that Kara had laid out. It fit perfectly, which I was getting used to. As I'll ever be. "Then let's go. Try not to speak unless spoken to. And for the love of the ancients, do not make eye contact with General Vorn. He considers it a challenge." "Right. No eye contact with the general." "Got it. Anyone else I should avoid looking at?" "Everyone, ideally." Great start. The dining hall was massive. A table that could seat 50, currently occupied by about 30 Scythians in various states of fancy dress. Lysara sat at the head, looking every bit the queen. She'd changed into something that seemed to be made of woven light. Show off. Every eye turned to me as I entered. Vexa guided me to a seat halfway down the table. Not close to Lysara, but not at the peasant end either. Political. Positioning, probably. "Lords and ladies." Lysara's voice carried effortlessly across the room. "Tonight we dine with a guest. Marcus Webb, of Earth. Here, under my protection. I expect you all to make him feel welcome." The looks I got suggested that welcome wasn't exactly the vibe. Dinner began. Servants brought out dishes I didn't recognize. Some glowed. One appeared to be still moving. I stuck with things that looked relatively safe and tried not to stare. "So, human," the voice came from across the table. A male Zithian, with military bearing and scars that suggested he'd earned them honestly. General Vorn, probably. I carefully looked at his shoulder instead of his face. "What skills do you bring to our court? What purpose do you serve?" Loaded question. Everyone was listening now. "I'm good at annoying people," I said honestly. "And apparently I don't die as easily as expected." A few chuckles. Vorn wasn't amused. The Queen wastes resources on a jester? The Queen makes her own decisions, General. Lysara's voice cut in. And needs no justification for them. Awkward silence. I focused on my food. It tasted like chicken. Everything in space tasted like chicken. Probably was chicken. The universe was weird like that. I heard you crashed your ship. Lady Mira spoke up. Pilot error? Asteroid error. It hit me. I hit a station. Physics 1. How very human. Blaming inanimate objects for your failures. I was starting to dislike Lady Mira. At least I survived. That counts for something. Survival is the bare minimum of existence. What matters is achievement, glory, purpose. She gestured elegantly with what looked like a wine glass. What have you achieved, Marcus Webb? Good question. What had I achieved? I'd delivered cargo on time, mostly. I'd survived a crash. I'd annoyed an entire council of aliens. Not exactly resume material. I made your queen laugh, I said finally. That seems pretty rare around here. The temperature dropped. Again. Apparently, that was the wrong answer. You dare suggest Her Majesty lacks joy? Dravik's voice could have frozen nitrogen. I suggest she's surrounded by people too scared to be genuine around her. Must get boring. Lysara was definitely trying not to smile. Everyone else looked ready to challenge me to that ritual combat thing. The human speaks boldly, Vorn said. Perhaps too boldly. Bold got me here. Might as well stick with it. Dinner continued in uncomfortable silence. Dishes came and went. I tried everything once, regretted some choices, survived others. The Zithians watched me like I was a science experiment that might explode. Dessert arrived. Something that looked like pudding, but tasted like starlight. Don't ask me how starlight tastes. I don't know. But this tasted like it. Tell us about Earth, someone down the table called. Young voice, curious. Is it true your species nearly destroyed itself multiple times? Yeah. We're kind of dramatic like that. But we got better. Better? Your planet is still recovering from the climate wars. Your political systems are fractured. Your technology lags centuries behind galactic standard. Sure, but we make good music. That's got to count for something. Music? Lady Mira looked disgusted. Barbaric noise is hardly an achievement. Have you ever actually listened to human music? Why would I subject myself to such torture? I looked at Lysara. Can I show them? She raised an eyebrow. Show them what? Music. Real Earth music. If I'm going to be your chaos agent, might as well start now. She considered this, then nodded. Very well. Everyone to the reception hall. Let's see what human culture has to offer. The court moved like a royal procession. Formal, organized, every person knowing their place. I followed, very aware that this could go horribly wrong. The reception hall had better acoustics than most Earth concert venues. Lysara's tablet connected to the palace systems. Easily. Because apparently, Zythian technology could interface with anything. I pulled up my music collection. 3 months on Omega-7, I'd had time to curate a playlist. Everything from classical to rock to jazz to things that defied genre. What is this? Dravik asked as I selected a track. Patience. The music started. Beethoven's Fifth. Because if you're going to introduce aliens to Earth music, you go with the classics. The Scythians froze. Literally, froze. Their eyes went wide. Some of them swayed slightly, like the music was physically affecting them. The piece played out. 4 movements of human genius translated into sound waves that crossed species barriers. Silence when it ended. Long, heavy silence. That was. Mira's voice trembled. That was written by your kind? Couple 100 years ago. Yeah. Impossible. Such complexity. Such emotion. I felt something. I grinned. Want to hear the good stuff? I played them everything. Mozart, Miles Davis, the Beatles, Metallica, Daft Punk. A curated tour through human musical achievement. With each song, the Zithians responded differently. Some danced, some cried. Vorn looked like someone had hit him with a spiritual revelation. By the time I finished with a little Nina Simone, the entire court was silent. Contemplative. Changed, maybe. Your species created this? Lysara asked quietly. In between nearly destroying yourselves? We're complicated. War and art. Destruction and beauty. It's kind of our thing. She looked at me with something new in her eyes. Respect, maybe. Or just surprise. I'm beginning to understand why the council feared you. Because of our music? Because you're capable of this. She gestured at her court, at the transformed faces around us. In one evening, you've done what I couldn't do in years. You've made them feel something real. Dravik stepped forward. His expression had softened. Underestimated your people. Others echoed him. Not everyone, but enough. Mira still looked skeptical, but even she seemed less hostile. So, I said to Lysara, still think claiming me was a good investment? Ask me again when you inevitably cause another incident. Fair. The crowd dispersed slowly. Zithians discussing what they'd heard, debating favorites, already requesting copies for their personal collections. I'd accidentally started a cultural exchange program. Lysara walked with me back toward the East Wing. You surprised me tonight, she said. The court will still be difficult. Tonight helped, but there are factions, political games, people who see you as a threat to their influence. Let them try. I survived Vrax. I can handle court politics. Vrax was simple. He just wanted you dead. Here, some will want to use you. Others will want to study you. A few might actually want to be your friend, but you won't know which until it's too late. Sounds complicated. It is, but you're human. Apparently, you thrive on complicated. She turned to leave, then stopped. Marcus, thank you for tonight. It's been a long time since I've seen my court genuinely moved by something. Any time, Your Majesty. When we're alone, you can call me Lysara. Then, any time. Lysara. She smiled. Really smiled. Not the political version. Then, she was gone, leaving me alone in the corridor. I entered my quarters and collapsed onto that ridiculous bed. One day, on Zythios Prime, I'd survived dinner, won over half the court with music, and maybe, possibly, started to understand why Lysara had saved me. Not because I was useful. Not because I was special. Because I was different. Because I brought something her world didn't have. Chaos, sure. But also authenticity. Real emotion. Unfiltered human messiness in a place that had forgotten how to be messy. My tablet chimed. Message from Lysara. Tomorrow we begin your actual duties. Hope you enjoyed the easy part. I laughed. Of course tonight was the easy part. Bring it on, Scythios Prime. Bring it on. I fell asleep to the sounds of an alien city outside my window, on a planet far from home, owned by a queen who was maybe, possibly, becoming something like a friend. Life was weird, but weird was good. Weird meant I was still alive, and in this galaxy, staying alive was the greatest achievement of all.